Hello and welcome to another edition of Pete's This Week from the Kojiko TV production studios. I'm your host, Dan Malta, and as we like to do every week, we're joined by an out-of-town guest. Coming up on Thursday, the Petes will be hosting the Hamilton Bulldogs, so fittingly, the voice of the Hamilton Bulldogs on Cable 14 in Hamilton, Reed Duthie. Reed, what's it been like to call the game so far this year?
Well, it's been a bit of a wild ride so far this season. I mean, you started off so well, 7-2 through the first 9. And then, of course, the injuries piled up with Matt Luff and Nicky Petty, and they kind of hit the downslide a little bit. And then those fellas got healthy by about December 28th, started to see a turnaround. And since then, outside of one little bump in the road this past weekend, really getting over that, they've been a good team, fairly consistent this season outside of that downslide in the middle. But when this team is healthy and going on all cylinders, they're a lot of fun to watch. They're a lot of fun to call.
So they're 2-5 in their last 5, or 2-3 in their last 5 games, but they're coming off of the 2 wins on the back end of those last 5 games. When this team does go into its downward slumps and then comes back out of them, what are the differences?
It's attention to detail, a lot of it, especially in the defensive zone. When this team's winning, they're doing a lot of things well that kind of go under the radar. Your Jack Hanleys, your Connor Walters, guys like that, even Justin Lemke to a great point. In the defensive zone, you don't notice them a lot because they're getting pucks high off the glass. They're making the simple plays, getting the puck up to the forwards that can really explode out of the zone. The top 3 lines for Hamilton all feature players that can really skate, really fly. And when the team goes into the slumps, it's a little bit more of they get running around in the defensive zone. It's a lot of turnovers. It's a lot of plays where it just looks like the guys aren't thinking it through, and they're trying to rush things a little bit too much and trying to turn defense into offense too quickly before they're prepared to do it. It's something that the Bulldogs have worked on all season. It's something Coach Gruden has really been trying to hammer into them, in that you've got to take care of your own zone. We've got the forwards that when we get the puck to them can play quick break hockey. It's just that you've got to make sure that you're not making those mistakes, especially out in front of your own net, because when they take care of their own zone between Dawson Carty and Caden Fulcher, they've got a nice tandem in the back. It's just making sure that they're not giving up those plays in high danger opportunities, not handing the puck or Nikita Karolstalev right at the side of the net. Those are the kind of things that'll really burn them. So what we saw against Mississauga and Windsor was a lot more of the good Bulldogs, simple plays, and then making it a little bit more complex in the offensive zone. That's what drove them to a couple of wins.
The last game on New Year's Day, Caden Fulcher played tremendously for the Bulldogs. And Reed, I know you get a chance to talk to a lot of the players that come into the Cable 14 studios, and just how are they enjoying Hamilton so far? I know not many remain from the transfer from Belleville, but what's the atmosphere like down there so far?
Well, everybody that I talk to really loves the city. They love the atmosphere they've come into. Will Bitton can't say enough great things. I talked to him right after they acquired him from the Flint Firebirds. It only took him a couple of days to get into the city and really enjoy his time as a member of the Hamilton Bulldogs, and that's continued on for him. Anytime we talk to him or interview him, he absolutely loves being a part of this franchise. Obviously, he had the relationship with Coach Gruden from Flint, and he's really accepted the role as a top-end guy on this team. And you can see that excitement, that electricity kind of goes through the locker room. I talked to Dawson Carty on his way out of the arena the other night, and he was very much all smiles. And, I mean, why wouldn't he be just beating the Windsor Spitfires? But he's a guy who's come in and really gelled in well. Nicky Petty and Matt Luff, 2 more guys who just – their energy around the rink is infectious. They love to play the game, and they've really come into the Hamilton community. And you see them out at the hospitals, at the charities, in the malls, talking to fans. These are a bunch of young kids who really seem to get it, and they're led by a great group with John Gruden and Steve Staios, on through the captains group with Jack Hanley and Justin Lemke and Nicky Petty. They're all guys that have come together and realize what's going to make this team special, what's going to drive OHL hockey in Hamilton. They've figured it out. They've got it rolling. I mean, this is a group now that, Dan, we haven't been under 3,300 people in attendance since the early part of December. So the community is catching on, and you're kind of seeing the players enjoying the community enjoying the players, and we're starting to develop something pretty special in Hamilton, I think.
And how about you, Reed? You're on the front lines as well. Do you get any feedback a lot from people that are tuning in to enjoy the games on Cable 14 now?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, it was funny. I was the other day, a bit of a sidetrack here, but I was in a pet store picking up some supplies, and a gentleman who I had talked to a bunch of times there before came up to me and said, "You work for Cable 14, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, my son We went down to a Bulldogs game once, and now he's hooked. And he showed me a picture. Actually, I think we're going to use it on our Family Day broadcast. A picture of the young fella with a Bulldogs shirt on, a Bulldogs mini stick, and they've got the Cable 14 on the big screen in the background with the game on the air. People are really catching on to what we're doing, and that's what's the best part about this is I was a part of some of the coverage when the Bulldogs were an AHL franchise, and as much fun as that was, we were only airing 14, maybe 15 games if we were lucky in a season. Now Cable 14 airs every home game live and every away game live, which I think was a huge step for us in that now people can follow these kids night in, night out, game in, game out, and they get attached to these players. I think that's what we're seeing more than anything is they're following along with the development of a Matt Strome, a Mackenzie Entwistle, a Ben Gleason, and they're going to watch these guys all the way on into the National Hockey League, and that's really what we needed in this community is to be able to follow players all the way through.
I think you're right, a sense of ownership of the players when they're there. Not ownership, but a partnership with them as you watch their careers blossom. They're still young when they're there, different than an AHL team. Have to imagine the vibe is a little bit different. And those jerseys, they are beautiful. The Hamilton Bulldogs new jerseys look great. Now, if you had to pick an MVP, I know when you look down the scoring list on this team, it's pretty spread out. Matthew Strome leading the team, but still not more than a point per game player. It's a relatively spread out scoring situation. How do you pick the MVP for the Hamilton Bulldogs to this point in the season?
I'm going to go with Matt Luff, actually. Signed to the Los Angeles Kings as a free agent just coming into the season. But when you look at his stat line, although it doesn't immediately jump out at you, it's because of the injury. He's over a point per game, or last check he was anyway, over a point per game in what he's played. But because of the injury, it slowed the team down. And you saw even when Nicky Petty came back from injury, it wasn't quite the same. December 28th, Matt Luff returns against the Erie Otters. They wind up beating Erie back-to-back. And we started seeing that team that exploded out of the gates at the beginning of the season. I don't think anybody really realized how much Matt Luff drives this team and drives this offense forward. To me, he's the MVP just because we saw the effect when he was out, and we've seen the effect of him coming back into the lineup. This team is so much better and so much deeper because now you can take Will Bitton and move him to a second line with Brandon Sage and Michael Cramarosa, which then means you can take Marion Studenic and move him to a third line with Connor Roberts and Luke Kutkavicius and Mackenzie Entwistle when he gets healthy. It makes for a great situation. It gives a lot of depth for Coach Gruden to run through, but it didn't start looking that way until Matt Luff came back on that line, and now he, Petty, and Strome are back together, and they look as good as ever. Luff actually had the insurance goal in the 6-3 victory over the Windsor Spitfires where he stripped Sean Day, of all people, of the puck, walked in and beat Kalina just absolutely clean. He's the kind of guy that can make a big difference, and I think he will coming towards the end of the season in the playoffs.
Now, both Hamilton and Peterborough in the same division. The Petes at the top, tied with Oshawa at this moment in time, and Hamilton in fourth place in the East Division. When you look at the preview for Thursday's game, what do you think the Bulldogs are going to have to do to get a win against the Petes?
Well, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. They've got to be strong in their own zone, and they've got to be defensively responsible back there. Obviously, Peterborough has been a thorn in the side of the Bulldogs going back to last year in that they play with such good structure. I really enjoy watching the Petes play because it's such good structure, and when they get a mistake out of the opposition, they jump on it. Skaters like Ang and Lawrence, they're going to fly down the rink, and then you add Nikita Kroskolev to that, who can run a power play, and I compared him to a Jaromir Jagr at the OHL level. When you watch him on the power play, he kind of hangs out at the side, but as soon as he gets the puck, is he going to break you down with a pass? Is he going to gun one into 6 inches of space on the top shelf? Is he going to hold on and force the defense all to him and then allow his teammates to open up? You cannot let him loose. You cannot give him time with the puck. The Bulldogs are going to have to be very responsible. They're going to have to rely on their defense, and they're going to have to try to beat the Petes at their own game in a lot of ways. They're going to have to force Peterborough into mistakes and then try to jump on them, speed up the ice, and capitalize like they did to Windsor. Can they do it? Absolutely. But it's sure not going to be easy against a team like Peterborough. That's a really top-class team you guys have.
All right, now, Reed, before we let you go, just ask for a quick score prediction maybe on Thursday. We like to do this. If you don't want to give it, it's no problem. But if you could predict it, what do you think?
Well, I think, as usual, Peterborough and Hamilton, this is going to be a tight game. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So I would recommend of course, everybody watching to tune in. You're gonna enjoy this one. I'm gonna have to do it. I'm sorry, Dan. I got to be a bit of a homer, but I'm gonna give the Petes a point out of this one. I'm gonna say Hamilton wins 4-3 in overtime, and I'll go one step further. Ben Gleason scores the overtime winner. I might as well. I go out on a limb while I'm here.
Wow, that'll be interesting if that comes through. There are going to be people who want to talk to you about stock prices, everything else. Now, let's get to you on Twitter. People can follow along with you, and you're up to a lot of stuff. I know if you just check in, you're all over the place, Reed. So where can people follow you, and what will they find?
Well, at RC Duthie on Twitter. I do the Hamilton Bulldogs in the OHL. I also do a lot of mixed martial arts, specifically in the Hamilton and London areas. And actually, for a little connection closer to you guys, in the summer, I like to go fishing up between Lakefield and Buckhorn. So I'm not a stranger to the Peterborough area. I love it up north, at least up north for me anyway. I'm a Hamilton boy. But I have nothing but the best to say about stuff up there. And I hope that people who connect with me, they really enjoy sports. I'll be talking baseball coming up soon, big Red Sox fan. My Boston Bruins have been up and down, so it's a lot of sports chat with me, and I hope that anybody who connects in will get involved, and we can have a lot of fun on Twitter.
All right, Reed, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure. Love what you guys are doing up in Peterborough. Keep up the great work, and I hope we see you guys down the line in the playoffs. That'd be a fantastic matchup.
Absolutely. There's Reed Duthie. The guy's a pro down at Cable 14 covering the Hamilton Bulldogs. We'll head to break now on Petes This Week. When we come back, highlights from last week's Petes action.